So I think I've been very nostalgic. I've been thinking about uni a lot. I've been thinking about, you know, reminiscing about the days when I was a little undergraduate youth there. You know, now I'm just in the unemployment line like everybody else, okay? Slightly exaggerating there. But nah, I've been thinking about uni a lot, and you guys know when it comes to my story times, I always want a little bit of a life lesson sprinkled in there. I always want, okay, not always, sometimes I just want to make you guys laugh and like have a chat about the bullshit that I've been through. But you know, sometimes I want you guys to take away a bit of what not to do, you know, like, oh, that's what Kate did. I'm not going to do that. So today, what you're not going to do is to trust dodgy landlords for your student accommodation. That's what you're not going to do. All right, guys, so let's jump into the story time. So I'm sure you guys watched my story time about my uni flatmates. That was my last story time video about my uni flatmates that tried it, tried me, tried my bank accounts. This story happened. So I mentioned in that video that there was 8 of us in the flat, but only 6 of us were planning on living together in second year. I don't know how it really works with universities and colleges outside of the United Kingdom, to be honest, but in the UK what tends to happen, for example, at Lancaster University, the university that I graduated from, you have first year and final year students have accommodation on campus guaranteed. Everyone in between is allowed to apply for campus accommodation, but they are prioritized below first and final year students. So if campus happens to be particularly full that year, then you're not going to get accommodation on campus. After first year, most people tend to move off campus anyway. So the 6 of us from our first year flat were planning to move off campus. The other 2 wanted to live on campus. Now the problem is, we kept finding that it was a lot easier to find 3 beds, 4 beds, even 5 beds, and then like 10, 11, 12 beds, like 9, 10. So as a group of 6, we were finding it really difficult to find any properties for the 6 of us. We even considered moving into 2 3-bedroom houses at one point. I don't know if this is late or early. I don't know what you guys' opinion on it is, but we started looking for our accommodation around February, March, and we felt it was late only because we knew people who, and remember, we were first years, so obviously you look for accommodation in anticipation of being in second year. So we were first years. We all only met in October. And so for me, February, March was even slightly early to be looking for accommodation, because it happens time and time again. You look for accommodation with people, and then by the time it comes to actually moving in, you hate each other. Do you understand? Which never happened to me, we thank the Lord. But I heard about it happening a lot. You know, we had a new flatmate come in, and part of the reason was during the first 2 weeks of term, they were discussing who was living with who, and they said they didn't want to live with the person. Do you understand? Like that, the first 2 weeks of term, they were talking about who they're going to live with and who they're not going to live with. So for in our university context, we started looking for houses kind of late, like February, March. So guys, we made a group chat. Let me see if I can find a group chat, because I promise, guys, I don't delete anything. So let me see if I can find a group chat, because that will make this story a whole lot easier. Yes, I found it. No, I really need to. I scrolled past some conversations that really should not still be on my phone. I'm a hoarder. I'm definitely a hoarder. So this group was created on the 18th of March, right? In Lancaster terms, we started looking for houses quite late, and they literally had to start a whole campaign on campus to get people to stop looking for houses so early, because people would get themselves in terrible contracts. People would end up living with people they hated because they started looking for houses in like November. What are you doing? So this is where the first like red flags shines. So out of the 6 of us, 2 people went to look at the house, and when they got back, what are the names that I used in the other video? Okay, so Harry was like, this is how he describes the house that they went to view without us. It was okay. You really need to look at it though. The bedrooms, kitchen and living room are all really nice, big and bright with good utilities. 2 cookers, big fridge, freezers, dishwasher, etc. The main problem is the corridors look like something out of a 60s horror movie. It's all down to what you can personally put up with. I didn't mind, particularly after seeing the good rooms, but don't feel pressured. You need to look at it and like it. And at the end there, he definitely dropped a gem. With student accommodation, I don't feel as though it's the same as with, you know, trying to find like permanent residence. Just because you're only in student accommodation for 1 or 2 years, you know, often you're working with a certain budget, or even if you're not, the people you're moving with might be on a certain budget. And sometimes you just have to compromise, and you kind of have to accommodate everyone's needs. So I'm not going to say you need to like your accommodation 100%, but please at least like it 80% maybe. You need to be comfortable with where you're going to live, you know, where you're going to lay your head down to sleep. The next thing in this chat is from the 7th of April. So what I think happened was we were having these conversations in person. So we ended up finding one of these 2 6-beds. We chose the 6-bed. We signed a contract for the 6-bed, and then the company, they're not called this anymore, so I'm going to use their real actual name. We signed a contract with LPNM, and then they got back in contact with us and said that they no longer had the 6-bed, but they had a 5-bed. We were like, okay, but that's not what we signed for, so we would like to break the contract, because you've broken the contract because you can no longer provide us with this so-called 6-bed. Now, you're gonna, as this unfolds, let me just tell you my theory now, and then as the story unfolds, you understand. I don't believe they ever had that 6-bed to give to us. But I think what they wanted was to sign a contract with us, so that when they then offered us what they ended up doing to us, we were already locked into a contract, so we'd be more willing to make it work with them. Does that make sense? I think that's what they did. They said that this 5-bedroom that they were gonna give us, they were planning on renovating it into a 6-bedroom. So they were gonna change some things about, I don't know if they were making 1 room 2 or whatever the case may be, but it was currently a 5-bedroom. But by the time we wanted to move in September, it was gonna be a 6-bed. Obviously that's not what we agreed to, but one of the flatmates' father was a lawyer, and he went through the contract. His colleagues went through the contract, and he was like, if they do end up converting this house to a 6-bed, then they've kept within the parameters of the contract that we had signed with them. So we kind of have to wait for them to not give us this 6-bed house that we had been expecting to live in together as a flat. Hi, thanks for your email. The formality of getting planning permission for the 6-bedroom is in progress. We're making a final inspection of the building to determine all the alterations that will be made in about a week. Work will start on the main building in about 2 weeks. So this is where's the date on this email? 2 weeks. So this is now May. This is now, oh, see the lighting is, guys, don't I look a bit angelic there? No? Okay, but the lighting, what does that have to do with the price of sliced bread? Work will start on the main building in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks from the 14th of May would be the 28th of May, okay? 2 weeks. It is anticipated that the majority of the work, excluding the additional bedroom, will be completed in about 3 to 4 weeks. So that would take us to the 14th of June. This is the 14th of May. My guy's not even got planning permission yet, and he said, don't worry, we have plenty of time to do the work. Okay, John. All right, John, we won't worry, Sha. At this point, we had already spoken to someone else at LPNM, and they had told us, they had discussed what they had disclosed to us, that work had already started on the house. So now John, who owned the company, was now telling us that planning permission is in progress. did I go? I think this is the one I went to. So what happened was they basically showed us, yes, I did go. They basically showed us around and explained to us the changes that would be made. Like the house was just very, it needed to be done, okay? So they kind of took us around and they explained where the 6th bedroom was going to be, how things were going to change, you know, because obviously, because we're thinking, we're annoyed at the situation, but because we can't get out of the contract, which having now completed my law degree, I'm not sure what kind of legal advice that was, because the contract was signed for 1 Scotland Street. Let's just call it 1 Scotland Street. And the house they were giving us was not 1 Scotland Street. So I don't know in what way we were still liable under that contract. Like this 6th bedroom they were giving us was not 1 Scotland Street. So, but anyway, at that time we were under the impression that we're bound by this contract until they don't give us a house, right? We were kind of thinking, okay, do you know what? We're gonna get a brand new house. This could end up not being such a bad thing. You grab. Now come to the 9th of July. Oh God, I remember this day like... Guys, this is Harry again. Guys, this is completely unconfirmed, but I've literally just been told LPNM has gone bust. I'm just gonna put the chat in. I'm just gonna put the chat in because I can't be bothered. My telling of this story, I guess, is kind of inaccurate because it wasn't the landlord, it was the letting agency that was dodgy. So obviously, as a landlord, you take your house to a letting agency and you let the letting agency manage the house for you. So they find the tenants, they collect rent, etc. So the person who ran the agency and who we had the contract with was John from LPNM. I wasn't concerned that we were going to be homeless or we weren't going to have a house. I was concerned that they had our deposits. I wanted my money. Do you know what happens when a company goes into administration, when a company goes bust, when a company is wound up? It means they can't pay our debts. Who are the people that they owe debts? We're one of them because they have our deposit. They owe us that debt of repaying us the deposit. So I did not want a situation where we weren't going to get our deposit back. By this point, I had done lots of research and found out that LPNM was a different company. And guys, since then I'm pretty sure they've changed like 2-3 more times. I'm pretty sure they're still in operation in Lancaster today as a completely different company. But by this point they'd gone bankrupt and then changed their company to a different company. So I was like, it's not like they haven't done this before. Do you understand? I just remembered the emotions. I was just like, what is this? Because obviously I felt like I was grown, but I was literally 18 trying to figure out. I know I was literally 19, you know. This was the first time I'd had to sort out, because obviously sorting out your accommodation on campus is so easy. It's not even a problem. This was the first time that I had to sort out proper accommodation by myself. I'm not living in my parents' house anymore. It was rough. It was rough, guys. Oh, to be careful. I don't want to send anything into this 3-year-old group chat. When we found out this stuff, there was people who currently live with them that was friends with some other people. That sounded like such a dumb sentence. Basically, these people knew these people who were current tenants, and LPNM used to do stuff like every term there's going to be a student party and we'll give you free pizza. They used to do all these things that they thought would make them look hip and cool and would get students to engage with them and make them like all the cool student letting agency. So these girls kind of sold it to us like, nah, they're really cool about things, they're really chill, blah blah, you shouldn't worry about them. Obviously this is before we found out. So it's kind of like now we then find out that they're potentially going bankrupt and like changing their name and everything again. It's a little sprinkle of I told you so. You can see they wanted to bring in students with all their little razzle dazzle, we'll give you free pizza, we'll give you alcohol and parties, but they didn't want to deal with us as adults when it came to the contractual stuff, and it was very frustrating. I was getting a little bit annoyed, I'll be honest, because we kept saying there's nothing wrong. Obviously we understand we have no legal ground according to your dad, the lawyer, Harry, but we kept saying we should just go and ask them for our deposit back anyway, and just ask them to break the contract anyway. I don't. No? Yes? Maybe? So now we get to the 28th of July. This is when the house should have been done by. Remember the timeline? Remember the email? Remember the email? It should have been done by the end of July. First week of August. Oh, well, okay. He said first week of August. At this point, we're hearing things like they are in hundreds of thousands of pounds of debt. And to one landlord, they owe a lot of money. Now, and then at this point, this is now the 31st of July, he's changed the name of the company again. On the 9th of August, Harry said, hey guys, I just checked the Lancaster Council planning page and the permission, so he's talking about the planning permission that John said was being handled on the 14th of May, yeah? I always do that. I always like slip up and say their name, and I know I'm gonna edit it out anyway, so it's fine, but still it was funny. Harry said, hey guys, I just checked the Lancaster Council planning page and the permission for Scotland Road has been granted. And I said, obviously, wow, a week into August, I'm filled with hope. To which Harry replied, it was approved on July 10th, just haven't checked in a while. July 10th, is that when the planning permission was supposed to be approved? July 10th? Is that when it was supposed, is that, okay. Oh my gosh. So finally on the 18th of August, my dad went to the house and building work has finally started. He sent me these photos, so just thought I'd pass them on to you guys. Guys, look at what the house looked like on the 18th of August, 1 month before we were supposed to move in, when it should have been done the first week of August. This is what the house was looking like on the 18th of August. And they were charging ridiculous prices. Look, they wanted to charge each of us, that's 6 people, £125 each for internet. Can we just do the quick maths? It doesn't cost £750 a year for internet. The price just kept jumping. The initial price that we saw on the website was not the price that was in our contract. Neither was it the price that was in this invoice they were sending out. Do you understand? So the price changed 3 times. So, oh, memories, man. I was in Barcelona. I was living life in Barcelona, knowing that I was going to come back to no uni accommodation, no house, still trying to figure out where we were going to live. Sorry guys if anything looks different, because the lighting was getting really bad, the weather was just not good, and I was filming at the wrong time of day, so I just had to take a little pause and come back to continue the video. So if anything looks different, it's because there is in fact a break between what you just watched and what yeah. So like I was saying, I guess up until this point we were pretty much just resigned to waiting until the 18th of September when we were supposed to get the house. Then if they broke the contract, then we would try and leave the contract. But for some reason the internet was the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah, it just, reading back through this, I was rude. There was no reason to be this rude. But now this is the 11th of September. The 11th of September, remember, we're supposed to get the house on the 18th. That's when we're supposed to be able to move in and do what we will with the house. Obviously, some people needed to be back in Lancaster early for various reasons, so the 18th was ideal. What we find out is the house isn't going to be ready for the 18th, but instead the 28th. The 28th. They've provided us with replacements for those 10 days. There aren't any 6-bed houses left, so they've had to split us up into 2 groups. One of the houses is for 4 of us and the other is for 2. The house for 2 is very nice and the nicer one of the 2, but the issue is that for those 10 days, the 2 would have to live with 2 other girls. As in 2 girls we don't know. As in, they're going to put us in a property with 2 of their other tenants for 10 days. Since they're girls, they've said it would be very preferable for the group of 2 to be girls too. Both houses are on the same street. And then on the 28th, they'll provide help to move us from 1 Scotland Street to move us from the houses that we're in to 1 Scotland Street, which is meant to be our house, right? Now at this point, my problem was that, remember I said the group was 3 girls, 3 guys. So obviously the 3 guys were not eligible to live with the 2 strange girls that we don't know, the 2 strangers. Like within the group, there was also a couple. So one of the guys was in a relationship with one of the girls. So therefore, it would make sense that me and the other girl who weren't in the couple, if that anyway, me and the other girl would end up being the 2 girls that stayed with the 2 girls that we don't know. And given that this house was supposed to be completed at the end of July, we're now in September and they're telling us it's only going to be 10 days. I was 97% sure that we would end up living with these people for months. I was in no way confident that they were going to give us that house at the end of 10 days. These people are fraudulent. The company has already gone bust and remade itself into a new company. They haven't provided the house that they promised. They're holding our deposits, Lord knows where. It was just ridiculous. To cut a long story short, the 2 of us eventually went to the company and we left the contract, and we successfully left the contract. We got our deposit back. We weren't out any money, and literally within, so we left the contract that week, whenever the 11th, like that week, the 11th of September, and by the time it was I think it was 21st, 26th, something like that, we had a house. Like we found a house for 2 of us. It was amazing. Like we had a 4-bed house for the 2 of us, like literally, and we weren't paying any extra. We were paying half what we would have paid with them, and we had a 4-bed house for the 2 of us. The rest of them that stayed in the house though, Harry had already paid LPNM his rent, so I think he had to use legal measures to get his money back from them. Why would he pay? Anyway, this long ass story was just to tell you guys to beware of who. And do you know what, actually, later on, I think it was later on that year, this company was on BBC Watchdog. If you guys don't know, BBC Watchdog is a show about like rogue traders and companies that are ripping people off, and it's about people that act in shady manners. So this company was on rogue traders, on what? Oh, maybe it wasn't Watchdog. It says BBC Road Traders.
And tonight we're on the train. Okay, Irina, this is your big chance. This is where you reveal the name of the man who runs the letting agency, which is withholding thousands of pounds of your rent.
Oh, good. It's
John Derek Sanderson of LPNM, Lancaster Property Network Management.
Aggressive. She's an old lady.
So am I.
Very intimidating.
How old do you think I am?
John, we're not here to talk about it.
John Sanderson, Matt, all right, how are you? From BBC Road Traders, as you probably remember. People that,
Come on.
What's the matter, John?
We're going.
John, look.
He was, no, his face was like, he was proper smiling, then he just... The full video is going to be linked in my description box. If any of you are at Lancaster University, if any of you are considering... But do you see how, no wait, can we just, do you see how dirty Lancaster has done me? And then people will still come at me sideways when I say that. Anyway, I'm gonna link the full video in my description box if you wanna join in and ask where's the money gone, John. And can I just say, every meeting we ever had with John Sanderson, you see how his clothes were not buttoned up correctly? They were never, he always had a button open somewhere. We were always staring at this guy's chest hair. Like, honestly, just, I don't know, with all that money, he can't dress. I'm just a bit confused. I love how he said he was gonna sue the BBC for defamation of character. It's not defamation if it's true. If you guys didn't know, the truth is an absolute defense to a defamation claim. That's everything, guys. You will catch me in my next video.